Hey, Newbie Dan here. I've gotten into the habit of creating SketchUp models for my woodworking projects, and they help me out a lot. And if I create a video about the project, I'd like to share the models with you too, because I think they can help you a lot. They're like having plans, except they provide way more information than normal pictures can. Of course, you need to know how to view these SketchUp models, and that's where this video comes in. It's really easy, and I'll hold your hand the entire way. Metaphorically speaking, of course. And once you learn how, you can view other people's SketchUp models also. Just go to SketchUp's 3D warehouse and search around. Want to build a workbench? Search for a workbench, pick one, and if you like it, download it. How about a dresser? Or an RX-7? I used to have one just like this, only it was white. I doubt this is a model you can actually build, though. Anyway, stick around and I'll show you all about it. SketchUp, that is, not the RX-7. Although let me tell you about the time I was driving across. A few quick words, and then we'll get started. I'm recording this at the beginning of September 2018. Since things can change fast on the internet, check the description below to see if there are any updates. At the end of this video, I have a section for getting out of trouble if you get stuck, and a section with some shortcuts, so don't miss them. There's an index in the description below, so anytime you need a refresher, you can use the index to go straight to a topic. You need to use a desktop or laptop computer to run the SketchUp web app. There is a SketchUp Viewer app for mobile devices, and it's pretty good. But do yourself a favor and learn the web version first. Once you do, the mobile app will make a lot more sense. And finally, the web app works best in Google Chrome or Firefox, so I strongly recommend you use one of these browsers. A SketchUp model is just a file with the .skp extension. Most of the time, you'll be getting your models from SketchUp's 3D warehouse. They're free, and you don't even need an account to download them. To get there, you can go to 3dwarehouse.sketchup.com, or just do a Google search for 3D Warehouse, and it'll probably be the top entry. Once you're there, search for the Newbie Woodworker to find my models. If you click on the author of one of my models, it'll take you to my model page, and you can bookmark it to make it easy to come back to. I'm just getting started uploading models, so there's more to come for sure. Since 3D Warehouse is a collaborative effort, some of my models are just to help other people with their models, like this Rockler power switch. So chances are you won't care about these models, but models like this plunge router lift will hopefully be more interesting to you. I'm putting a version number in each of my models. If you guys find mistakes, or if you need me to add some other information to the model, I'll probably upload an updated model. The version number will help you know if you have the latest version or not. We'll be using the drill press table model for this demo. Click the download button to download the model. It'll give you the choice of which SketchUp version to use. Since we'll be using the web app, pick the most recent SketchUp version, which in this case is SketchUp 2018. It'll download a file with the .skp extension. To view the file, we're going to be using the SketchUp web app, which is normally referred to as SketchUp Free or SketchUp Web. Go to app.sketchup.com. You do need to sign in, but it's totally free. If you have a Google account, and if you have a YouTube account, you probably do, you can use that. I normally use my Google account, but for this demo, I'll sign up with an email address just to show you how easy it is. Fill out the fields and click the button, and after a few seconds, you should receive an email. Click on the link in the email, and you're good to go. After logging in, it takes a few seconds for the app to load. Once it does, you'll have an empty model. Oh no, poor Joe, he has no face! Sorry, obscure movie reference there. To open a file, click this icon and choose Open. This is like a folder, so click it. If you've already added a model, it'll be listed here. Click Add Model. Click Browse and select the file you downloaded earlier. You can see the progress here as it uploads the file from your computer. By the way, if you don't see a picture like this, you're probably not using Google Chrome or Firefox. When it's ready, click Open. It may take a few seconds to open the model. And there we go. We're viewing a SketchUp model. Woohoo! Now hold on just a sec. If you're anything like me, you're chomping at the bit to run off and start playing right now. So if you're one of those people, make sure you check out the Views side panel, which has scenes in it. I put a lot of effort into these scenes, so don't miss them. Okay, you can run off and play now. Don't forget there's an index in the description when you want to come back for more information. For the rest of you, we'll cover scenes in more detail later. So let's continue with the video and wait until you see how smart you were to stick around. This thing on the left is the toolbar. You can hover your cursor over a button to see the name of the tool. Don't worry, most of these buttons are for designing models, not viewing them, so we'll only be focusing on a few of these buttons. Each button actually represents a group of tools. When you click one, it expands to give you access to multiple tools, except for the top one, which only changes the cursor back to an arrow. The buttons on the toolbar show the default tool in that group. So if I wanted to use the Orbit tool, I just click it, and the other buttons go away as soon as I start using it. If I want to use a different tool in the group, I click the toolbar button, then click the tool I want. As soon as I click it, the others go away immediately. Here's a cool feature. When I clicked the hand tool, the default button changed to the hand tool. So if I'm using the same tool over and over again, the next time I want to use it, I only have to make one click to get it. Whenever you select a tool, you should see some information about the tool down here. The first sentence tells you what the tool is for or how to use it. I'll explain what drag to orbit means in a moment. After that sentence, it may tell you other things, like the fact that you can hold the Option key down to suspend gravity. I still don't know what that means. Or hold down the Shift key to temporarily change to the Pan tool. Let's imagine that this guy represents our model. In SketchUp, we're actually viewing the model through a virtual camera. Not this camera, of course, but let's pretend this camera is our point of view. The camera tools are the tools that affect our point of view. Remember, these tools don't change the model, they change the way we view the model. The first tool is the Orbit tool. We're going to use it to orbit the camera around the model over to here. Again, we won't be moving the model, just the virtual camera. And the camera will still be pointed at the model. So let's do it. I select the Orbit tool, and when I hold down the left mouse button and drag the mouse, I'm orbiting around the model to the side. So we moved the virtual camera, or our point of view, over to the side. We didn't move the model, though. He's still facing the way he was before we used the Orbit tool. So the Orbit tool moves the camera around the model while keeping the camera pointed at the model. The Pan tool, on the other hand, moves the camera side to side, but keeps it pointed in the same direction. Notice that the camera does not follow the model. It stays pointed straight ahead. So the Orbit tool orbits the camera around the model, while the Pan tool moves the camera side to side or up and down. The rest of the tools in this group are for zooming. You can zoom in and out using your scroll wheel or touchpad or whatever, but on some computers like mine, it zooms way too fast. Fortunately, you can use this zoom tool or tap Z to change your cursor to a magnifying glass. Then just click and drag up or down to zoom. This one lets you zoom in on a specific area. This one is actually very valuable. It's called Zoom Extents, but I prefer to call it Zoom to Fit. Let's imagine that we moved away from the model and we can't find it. We could try zooming out until we find it, and that works sometimes, but Zoom to Fit always works. Very useful. We're going to use the tape measure to, yes, measure things. Click the Tape Measure tool button or tap the letter T. I'm moving the mouse around without pressing any buttons. When the cursor gets close to certain surfaces, you'll see it snap to things. And when that happens, a text box pops up with some information about what it snapped to. On face tells us we're on the face of an object as opposed to on edge, for example. In panel top tells us the name of the object. In this case, the object is named panel top. This one's called insert. And this one's called edging front. So in other words, we're on the face of the panel top. It's up to the creator of the model to give objects meaningful names. I always try to do that. Other model creators may not. And finally, it tells us that this edge is 14.5 inches long. Later on, I'll cover how you can change the units to metric or other representations. It's easier to snap to things if you zoom in. If you're zoomed too far out, and I'm exaggerating here, it's harder to snap to what you want. Okay, let's say I want to know the width of this panel here, and none of these pop-ups will tell me. Here's where we get to use this tool like a true tape measure. I snap it to a side, then press down and hold the left mouse button, and drag the mouse to the other edge until it snaps to the edge. I've still got the mouse button down, and it tells me that the length is 16.5 inches. You can read the length here and here. If I release the mouse now, I'll actually modify the model and add what's called a guideline. I didn't really want to do that, so I'll undo it. I'll talk about undo later. To prevent making a guideline, before you release the mouse button, press Escape. It's like retracting the tape measure. I added the sound effect, by the way. Once you've tapped Escape, you can release the button. Eventually, it'll become second nature to tap Escape before releasing the mouse button when using the tape measure. Sometimes you end up measuring a different dimension than you meant to. For example, watch what happens here. I've tried to make it obvious I'm not measuring straight across, but sometimes it's not so obvious. So how do you tell? In SketchUp, the right to left axis is represented by a red line. I think of it as R for red, R for right to left. The top to bottom axis is represented by a blue line, like the line comes down from the blue sky. The front to back axis is a green line. I don't have any way of remembering it other than it's not right to left or top to bottom. By the way, if the axis lines aren't visible, the short answer is to click this button, check this checkbox, and click this arrow. I'll cover the sidebar in more detail later on. So when I measure across the table, the tape measure shows a red line. This lets me know that I am, in fact, measuring along the red axis or directly across the table. But watch what happens when I go slow. Whoa, what's this? The line jumped and changed to blue. And if I can manage to orbit and pan without dropping the tape measure, you can see that the tape measure actually is trying to measure along the blue axis, up and down. So when you have problems like this, reposition the camera to make it more obvious to SketchUp which direction you're trying to measure. If you want to know more about how SketchUp tries to infer what you want to do, Google SketchUp inference. With the subject as nuanced as this one is, it's hard to know when to stop. But let's put our tape measures away for now. These buttons on the right control the sidebar. Click a button to show the section for that button. Click another button to see that section. You can hide the sidebar by clicking this arrow. Once you get enough sections open, you can scroll the sidebar. To clear up the clutter, you can collapse a section by clicking its title. Click it again to uncollapse it. Or remove a section entirely by clicking the X on the right. You can always bring it back by clicking the button again. So let's talk briefly about a few of these sections. The Instructor shows you information about the current tool you're using. It gives you an animated example, some details, and a link to more information. By the way, one time something happened and this section didn't show anything at all. It was like it was collapsed, but it wouldn't uncollapse. I had to restart my browser before it worked again. Model info lets you change the units. This is how you'll change from inches to metric, for example. Right now it's set for fractional inches. If I change the precision to a 1/16 of an inch, the numbers will be rounded to a 1/16 of an inch. The tilde in front means approximately. And if I change to a 1/2 inch, they'll be rounded to a 1/2 inch. This has a strange dimension, so I'm going to switch to showing decimal inches with 2 decimal places. Well, that makes a little more sense. I'm selecting millimeters now with 4 decimal places. Let's try 2 places instead. You get the idea. We've looked briefly at display before, which is where you can show or hide the axes. I won't go into the other options, at least not in this video. This is the Views section. These buttons will snap the camera to certain angles, like side view, back view, or front view. This is the scenes portion of this section. I mentioned scenes earlier in the video, but we'll go into a little more detail now. Scenes are views of the model I've saved for you. Not all creators use scenes, but I use them a lot to help you guys get the most out of my models. Each scene has a particular camera angle, and more importantly, it shows or hides parts of the model so you can focus on the details. For example, this one shows you the table without the drill press. This one shows you the table without the fence, or just the bottom panel, or just the fence. I just now added these scenes that display dimensions. If I'm able to add enough of these scenes, you might not even need to use the tape measure. This could be especially helpful if you're using the mobile app. As for now, I'm still working on them. One other thing that scenes can do is restore your view of the model if you mess it up, like this. Click the scene and presto, back the way it was. If you need more scenes, leave a comment and let me know. But first, check 3D Warehouse to make sure you have the latest version. If I update a model, I'll update the version number so you can tell. Layers are another way I'm trying to make it easy for you guys to view my models. Unlike scenes, which show or hide things based on how I thought you might like them, layers let you show or hide parts of the model yourself. Layer 0 is the default layer and always sorts to the top. The rest of the layers should be sorted alphabetically, but they're not the first time. I don't know why. But fortunately, it's easy to fix. Click this button once, then again, and they're sorted alphabetically. Some model creators don't make layers, just like some don't make scenes. But I spend a lot of time on them, grouping parts of a model into layers, so it's easy for you to show or hide them. Hopefully the names will be obvious. This is the drill press. I named it with AA in the front, so it sorts to the top, since it's the most likely one you'll want to hide. Then there's fence, and edging, and insert, and T-tracks, and panel top, and on and on. There's one caveat to all of this. When you show or hide a layer, it modifies the model. But if you're using one of my models, it doesn't matter, because you're not modifying any of my scenes. So just click a scene to restore the layers to the way they were. Other model creators may have done things differently, so you'll have to play that by ear. There's a bug in the current version of SketchUp I need to point out. There's always something, right? If there's an eye next to a layer, it's visible, right? And if there isn't an eye, the layer isn't visible, right? Well, that's the way it's supposed to work, but sometimes these eyes don't always tell the truth. For instance, this says the fence is hidden, but it's obviously not. The solution is simple. Click the eye once, and it's correct. Click it again to actually hide it this time. So all this really means is that you can't trust the eyes unless you've clicked them at least once. Although, if it says the fence is visible, and the fence is in fact visible, you can probably trust your own eyes. Sometimes you'll get yourself in a situation like this, where you don't know what you did. Why are these things a lighter color? The answer will have to wait for another video, but for now, here's some things to try to get out of a bind. First of all is the escape key. Sometimes pressing it once, or multiple times, works wonders. But what if you moved or deleted something? Try using the undo button. Or Control or Command Z should work also, depending on whether you're on Windows or a Mac. If those things don't work, you can try reopening the model without saving the changes. Click the Open icon and navigate to your model. Select it and click Open. When it asks you to save changes, just say No. Another option is to start a new model. Just pick any of these. Again, when it asks you to save changes, click No. Sometimes SketchUp auto-saves your changes. In that case, your only real solution is to delete and reload the model. You can't delete the model you have open, so like I showed before, start a new model. Then use Open again and click on the X over here. Say Yes to confirm deleting the model. Then re-add the model like before. All better. Here's some shortcuts you can use when viewing a model. I've covered some of these already, but I wanted to put all of them in one place. Tap Z to change to the Zoom tool. Tap T to change to the Tape Measure tool. Tap O to change to the Orbit tool. While using the Orbit tool, you can hold down the Shift key to temporarily change to the Pan tool. Release the Shift key to go back to the Orbit tool. Tap the spacebar to change back to the Arrow tool. These next ones are if you have a 3-button mouse or a 2-button mouse with a clickable scroll wheel. or software that can emulate one of them. Hold down the middle button or scroll wheel to temporarily change to the Orbit tool, then move the mouse to Orbit. Release them to change back to the current tool. To temporarily change to the Pan tool, hold down the Shift key along with the middle button or scroll wheel, then move the mouse to Pan. Again, release them to change back to the current tool. SketchUp has a zillion features and options. I've barely touched the surface, but I hope I've given you enough information to get value out of my models. When in doubt, hit up Google and YouTube. However, be aware that most of the online help and videos you'll find were created for the desktop version of SketchUp. Most things work the same, they're just accessed differently. And don't forget about the index in the description below if you need to come back for a refresher. As of 2018, SketchUp discontinued their free desktop version called SketchUp Make. Their plan is to focus on the web app for the free versions of SketchUp, so that's what this video was about. The last version of the free desktop app is called SketchUp Make 2017, but you can still download it and it still works great. It actually has a couple of features that the web app doesn't have. Personally, I'm using SketchUp Make 2017 to make my models. Of course, things may have changed since I made this video. Once you feel relatively comfortable with the web app, feel free to try the SketchUp Viewer mobile app. Like I said at the start of this video, the mobile app will make a lot more sense once you've learned the web version. It's available on the Apple App Store and Google Play. And no, I don't make any money off of this. In closing, please ask other YouTube creators for SketchUp models for their projects. I'm trying to start a trend here. Make sure you mention this video or my channel so they know who to blame. I hope this video helped. If it did, please give it a thumbs up and consider leaving a comment. Thanks! If you like what I do here, click that subscribe button, and don't forget to ring that bell to get notified about new videos. Thanks!